I've been reading a lot of duds lately, and it's kind of sucky because I just want to read a good book and get immersed in a good world with good characters. So when I picked up this very, interesting sounding popular book, I was not looking forward to it. I did not have high expectations. Everything that had been recommended to me recently was just falling flat. So I was pleasantly surprised when I actually enjoyed it. So here I am with a book review about a book that didn't completely suck. Now, the thing that's relevant about this book, though, is that I did not read it, I listened to it. I usually don't make this differentiation, but I need to because the audiobook was recorded really badly. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I don't listen exclusively to audiobooks. I'm not saying I just have so much experience, but I do listen to a fair amount of audiobooks. And when there's a good voice actor, it's amazing. Like, it really just, you get caught up in the whole thing. I love it. I'm so distracted I can't do anything else. And I actually could do so many things because I'm listening to a book while I'm doing all the things I need to be doing. So it's great. But when it's bad, I'll find myself like I'm trying to get immersed and I'm immersed, and then all of a sudden I'll just be like jarred out of it. And what makes it bad? I actually thought this was like just for certain voice actors, but I realized it's actually like a thing, how people record. Let me play you an example.
Conscription day is always the deadliest. Maybe that's why the sunrise is especially beautiful this morning, because I know it might be my last. I tighten the straps of my heavy canvas rucksack and trudge up the wide staircase of the stone fortress I call home. My chest heaves with exertion, my lungs burning by the time I reach the stone corridor leading to General Sorengale's office. This is what 6 months of intense physical training has given me. The ability to barely climb 6 flights of stairs with a 30-pound pack. I'm so fucked.
Kind of, do you hear how like that person's just telling a story? It just sounds like somebody talking to you and telling you a story, and I love it. Like, I'm like, oh wait, should I be a voice actor for an audiobook? I feel like I would really enjoy that. Like, it just sounds fun, and I'm probably one of the only people in the world who actually thinks my voice sounds pretty good. Like, I don't hate the sound of my own voice. I'm not like obsessed with it or something, but like everyone's like, when they listen to themselves after they record themselves, they're like, ew, my voice sounds like that. And I'm just like, all right, like, that's my voice. But some audiobooks sound like this.
Prologue. Once upon a time. It was an ordinary day when Evie met the villain. Another failed attempt at the job fairs in her village. Another day with no source of income. Another day she was letting her sick father and little sister down, which was why her mind was preoccupied as she wandered to the trees lined like fences at Hickory Forest's edge and walked right in. The forest had once been frequently populated, but was now the very last place anyone with common sense would choose to wander, especially alone. Well, unless your name was Evangelina Sage.
Did you pick up on it? Like, if you didn't, that's awesome, because now you could just listen to all audiobooks. But I literally picked up 2 audiobooks recently, and they both had that. Let me tell you what that is, okay? It's the stop and start. She didn't know how to feel. It's like a stilted way of talking, where they're not enunciating the normal way that you would if you were having a conversation with someone. They're making it sound robotic. And now I'm thinking, is it AI reading it? Can AI do audiobooks yet? Is that a thing? Because you need the voice actor. When I just do like text to speech, if I'm having something getting read out to me, it does not sound enjoyable. I'm not like, this is fun, I'm listening to an audiobook. I literally wrote a book a couple of years ago, and I was looking up like how to edit it and stuff. Like, after I had been editing it, and I wanted it like new ways. And somebody was like, have it read to you, like do a text to speech. And I was like, oh, smart. And I like audiobooks, and I'll hear how that sounds, and then it'll be another way of editing it, right? Because you listen to it in different, like, read it in different formats and stuff. But because it was a robot reading it, it sounded awful. Like, it didn't immerse me in the story. I didn't get excited about it. It was like, and then she went to the store, and after she went to the store, she picked up some eggs, and then after she picked up some eggs, she went and she bought a pumpkin. Basically, a voice actor has a really important job where they are there, but they're also not there. Like, you don't really want to hear them. If they're really good, you don't even realize what you're listening to. Like, you're just hearing the words. That's my opinion. Maybe I'll go into that in another video. Like, I'll do like a deep dive and breakdown of how audiobooks are made and how people choose voice actors and whatever, like, if that's interesting. But let's go back to the book I just read. So I started off this video by saying I actually didn't hate it. Like, I was actually really pleasantly surprised by the whole story. I'm not gonna say it was my favorite book, but sometimes you're just like, oh, this book was a fun listen. The thing I loved about it is the main character kind of reminds me of me, which if you listen to my other video, I explain what makes a main character like fun, right? And it's like wanting to be like them or being super interesting and deep and needing to discover everything about them, right? So like Evie just reminded me of me in the sense that she was just like, first of all, super clumsy. Yes, I'm very clumsy. And she was kind of just like lighthearted and bubbly, and I like to think of myself kind of like that. Also got used to evil very quickly, and I feel like that would probably happen to me too. So the whole atmosphere of the book was like light and fun and silly a bit. And the thing about silly books, they're like, I like calling them comedy books. I don't actually know if they have a genre. They're probably called comedy, but they're like, okay, so Terry Pratchett does this. Actually in the middle of listening to an audiobook by Brandon Sanderson, and he is doing this very well, and I am excited to break this down for you when I talk about it in my next video or one of my next videos. But like, they're just silly, and you're like, okay, that wouldn't really happen. It's like, I kind of like thinking of like a comedy movie but in book form, where you're just like, what are you doing? Why are you being so ridiculous? But it's also like a book, so let them be ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just lighthearted and fun. I'm gonna keep using that word because it feels fun while you're reading it. So, brief nonsensical summary coming up. Evie is trying to find a job to support her ailing father and her sister because they're the only ones left. Dun, dun, dun. And she is walking through a forest that everyone's really scared to walk through because there's a villain who lives there. He's literally just called the villain. Everyone just knows he's super evil. And Evie doesn't care. She's like, why would the villain care about little old me? So she's just walking through the forest, and then lo and behold, she stumbles upon the villain, and he's in a dire situation and she gets in a dire situation. But at the end of it, he offers her a job. And that's kind of how the book starts, and that's kind of like the main point of the book. Now, because I actually really like this book, I don't know if I want to give spoilers because maybe you'll actually want to read it. But there was also lots of twists and turns, and it was just like kind of a mystery as well. And it's fun, and it's kind of also like a romantic-ish, like there's a little bit of like romance. I'm not even gonna say subplot, like maybe main plot, not spicy at all. I will say the one thing is that it didn't feel like for kids because they just curse so many times, and it felt very unnecessary. Like, why do you need to curse so much? But there was like nothing else inappropriate about it, and like if you didn't curse that much, I could recommend it to like my little cousin. But because of that, I'm like, maybe wait until you're a little older. So that would be the only thing. It felt very unnecessary. And I will say also additionally, when people curse in fantasy books, it feels jarring, like it takes me out of the world a little bit. And it's because like what you're telling me that this fantasy world uses the exact same curse as us. Like, it's one thing if they're cursing with like made up words and stuff I don't understand, but if they're just using like the F word, I'm like, okay. It's like a modern day life masquerading as a fantasy. And I'm like, eh. So that was actually one of my biggest things about Crescent City. It just pissed me off. But that's that video if you want to go see it. So I'm gonna leave that there, And if you do not want a spoiler and you're like, wait, this book actually sounds like something I want to read, then stop watching this video and come back to it after you read it, and then we can talk about it. But if you don't want to read it, or you already read it, then let's continue. So Evie's just like chilling, working for this villain. She is fun. He is like in love with her right away, which you can tell why. Like sometimes you want reasons for why people have desires and whatever, and sometimes you can't tell, right? You're just like, why do you like this person, right? Like Bryce, super unlikable, but Evie's just likable, and you get why she's likable. Like it makes sense. So super likable. She's also super efficient at her job, and you're just like, go Evie. Oh my gosh. So the villain, he's basically super against the king, hates the king. His entire goal is to like destroy the king. And Evie's like, cool. And she just like casually talks about like decapitated heads and skulls that just like line the building where she works. Like, I guess what was it called again? Murder Mansion? She just like, again, casually mentions it, and he just goes and casually tortures people. But he's like, every time Evie's close, he's like, this girl's gonna be the death of him. He's like not even allowed to love her, you know? And she also can't stop thinking how attractive he is. Of course he's attractive, because everybody is attractive in these books, because why would he write books about unattractive people, right? But yeah, she's attracted to him, but she like keeps under wraps, and like basically he finds out that someone's betraying him inside the company, and they're trying to figure out who did it, and she almost gets killed, and he saves her, and there's all these like kind of like romantic moments. They're both like, okay, let's say there was a bomb planted and Evie ran away with the bomb and tried to save everybody, but still kind of like got blasted off. So when she wakes up, she's like, she thinks that every time the villain touches her, he hates it and detests it, and he's always got this like pinched look on his face, like, you know? But really he's just like controlling himself and trying like to control his desire for her. And he thinks that because she's like recoiling, because like she knows she thinks he doesn't want to touch her, he's like, oh my god, she's disgusted by me because I'm the villain. So it's kind of like a funny back and forth. And I even understand, you know, sometimes you're like, just confess your feelings for each other, but I'm like, it's a boss and his assistant. It's assistant to the villain, so like obviously she wouldn't tell him, and that made sense to me. Yeah, there's dragons and it's fun, and basically there's so many like, oh my gosh, okay, so who did it, right? And you're kind of like trying to figure it out, and there's some red herrings as well. And then also you end up figuring it out. I should say the villain's name is Tristan, and Tristan used to work for the king, and the king is kind of evil sounding, and really you kind of end up realizing Tristan's the good guy, right? Because he's just against the king. But there's a second book where we find out more about the king's plans. So far we haven't figured out that much. But basically at the Evie loves her dad so much. Her mom left them basically because she found out she had magic, and it kind of drove her crazy, and she ended up killing Evie's brother. So like that was a crazy story. Like when you figure that out, it's like a slow reveal. It's not like immediately told or anything. So when you end up figuring that out, you're like, oh dang. And her father's super sick. It's this like mysterious illness that nobody really knows how to fix. And she's just taking care of her sister. And then turns out her father's not sick. He's actually one of the king's guard. And he's the one that's been the leak the whole time, because he has been spying on Evie and telling the king everything, and that is the leak. That's the mole. And basically her father tries to kill her. It was a crazy twist. It was like, wait, I did not see that coming. And I was actually really satisfied. I was like, it wasn't too far-fetched to me. But like, you're also like, oh dang, like her father? What a betrayal. What a betrayal. Like crazy. So yeah, and then there's like this whole fight, and then Tristan gets taken, and Evie's kind of just standing in Murder Mansion, just smiling smugly, going, we're gonna get him back. We're gonna get him back. So I immediately went and put the second book on hold. So I'm waiting for that, because I really want to know what happens, because it was fun. It was a fun, lighthearted book. And after like a couple of just books that I was like, man, about, I was like, wait, this was kind of fun. And then I was trying to put the third book on hold, and I'm like, why can't I put the third book on hold? And I realized it's not out yet. So that will be fun. I think it's coming out then August 2025 or something, which is too far away, but close enough. I'm sure I'll have lots of books to read before then. So did you like this book? Was it good? I will say the way I found it originally was I saw it in the library when I went to Barnes & Noble's that like one time, and it like looked interesting, but I wasn't gonna buy it because again, it was like it's so freaking expensive. I still, who buys books and still affords rent? Oh wait, are the only people buying books people who live in their parents' houses? That makes so much more sense. Anyways, so I didn't buy it, but when I sorted books by popular, because I wanted to find specifically an audiobook and I wanted to specifically find a fantasy, it was one of the first ones that came up. And I saw it and I was like, watch it. Because what have I said, right? You want recognition, name recognition. You just want familiarity, right? That is what marketing is. So because I saw it in Barnes & Noble's and then I saw it as a popular book and it was available right now, I was like, let's give it a try. So yeah, overall, I will say, should I have a rating system for books? Like 1 out of 10? If I want to have a rating system, I'd probably give it like a 7, a solid 7, which isn't bad. If you like this video and you want to see more book reviews or just book rants or discussions about books, then give it a thumbs up. If you did not like this video, then give it a thumbs down and let me know why in the comments, because if you tell me, then I could get better. If you don't, I'll never get better. Please subscribe because I really want to talk about books and I really need more people to talk about books because I'm not gonna be able to justify this forever if I just have 22 subscribers. 22,000 sounds a lot better. 22 million sounds even better. The end.